Hello, and thank you so much for coming to Thingish today. I want to introduce Cindy Eastman. I'm so excited, Cindy, that you're here to talk to me. Cindy Eastman is an award-winning author whose first book, a collection of essays entitled Flip Flops After 50 and Other Thoughts on Aging I Remembered to Write Down, was published by She Writes Press. She has presented nationally at the Story Circle Network 8th Women's Writing Conference in Austin, Texas, is a contributor to several anthologies, and writes a weekly essay called Silver Linings on Substack, which I strongly recommend everyone to subscribe to. It's so good. Um, Cindy also collaborated with her daughter, Annie Musso. Is that how I say it? Musso?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Annie Musso on a series of essays called Can We Talk About Cancer, which detailed Annie's battle with cancer before she died in April of 2024. Her second book, True Confessions of an Ambivalent Caregiver, was published in September of 2024. Her most recent project was editing the anthology Grief Like Yours, published in, actually, there, published in 2025 of June by Carpe Vitam Press. Cindy has a master's in education and has taught writing to students between the ages of 5 and 85. She currently teaches English at her local community college and facilitates several writing groups. She lives in Watertown, Connecticut with her husband, Angelo, and can often be found in the company of her grandchildren. And right now you're speaking to me from Maine, right?
I am. I'm in Maine, and I'm not in the company of anybody. I'm
How
here all by myself.
lovely.
Yeah.
That's rare. I can't
Yes.
remember the last time that happened to me.
Well, come on out. I'll give you your space.
We can be solitary together.
That's right.
Okay, so first I want to just talk about how we met because I think it's so cool. We both we both published with She Writes Press, and were signed up to go. Well, actually, you were signed up to go to the Irma Bombeck Writers Conference, and I think I put on our secret Facebook group, "Is anybody going?" or something, because I feel like we connected before that conference, and you had kind of told me about it and how wonderful it was. And then when we got there, we met. Brooke, our publisher, has a really good way of bringing people together when we're
Yeah.
at these conferences. So we met, and I feel like we are kindred spirits. I just have always, since our first interaction, loved talking to you. You are such a warm heart and such a connector, and a wonderful communicator. And I think the world is so lucky to have you, and you are capturing everything that you're going through in your grief process, and you're so articulate and so verbal, like you're just communicating everything, which I think is just so helpful to people that are grieving and looking around and wondering how to do this. There's no right way, obviously, but just looking for any kind of guidance. And I think you're just such a good um, mentor to all humans, because everybody grieves at some point.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about uh first let's talk about this anthology that you just edited, that just came out, and the link to buy it. I highly recommend it. The link to buy it will be in the Substack. Um, how did you decide to create the collection, Cindy?
Well, first, let me thank you for having me. And I feel like, well, we could just wrap up after that lovely introduction. Thank you for saying that.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, okay, good. This is great. No, I felt the same way though at the Irma Bombeck conference. It was like, have we just always known each other? And it's, we have different, there were some like little connections that we made, and but otherwise, different, literally we're on different sides of the country right this moment. So, but I was so happy to have, met you and become friends. And I like this. And thank you for having me on your podcast, and especially for helping me get the word out about this book. I also have one too, just in case.
It's
um,
wonderful.
Thank you. Well, I wrote it. I thought about it because I just like was undergoing just sort of wave after wave of grief, and it was just getting to be, it just felt like I was always sad,
Yeah.
but there were so many different ways to be sad. There was just, I lost my mother, um, which was the catalyst for the, everything sort of snowballing. Um, so I lost my mother, and because she was the primary caregiver for my dad at the time, we ended up moving him up to my home. My sister was fighting cancer at the time, and then we lost her a year later. I mean, it was just nonstop. It was a
Yeah.
relentless, and I just felt like this. There are so many different parts to this. It's like I had to start thinking about grief as very separate. I couldn't just be like, I'm grieving my mom, I'm grieving my sister, I'm grieving my, like it's just, so it became clear to me, or that there are just so many ways to grieve. And I thought it would be an interesting collection to have all the stories. And so and it was like, I don't know how to do this. Let's just try it. So
You did
so
such a good job though, because you hit every sort of corner of grief, and even parts of grief that you wouldn't even necessarily think are grief, like moving, and like I think, well, obviously moving is one of a top 10 stressor, but you don't really think of it as grieving. You just think of it as stress. But it's like, no, that's actually, you're losing something and you're moving into something new. And I, so, and then there's like, Brooke writes about the financial aspect of
yeah.
grieving. And then there's pets. And then there are, from I don't know. I just feel like I loved how you hit every note. Oh, and I was going to say, Mary Camarillo White writes about what not to say to people who
Mhm.
are grieving, which and I actually read that aloud to someone because we were talking about it. And I was like, oh, you got to listen to this because it's so true. It's like, and it's like you don't want to bash people because they're probably trying to do their best, but sometimes you should just say, I'm sorry and give them a hug, like just like, stick with the simple. Don't like
Right.
maybe don't
Don't try
go
so
on
hard.
about something that you
Yeah.
maybe yeah, you're hitting the wrong note. Read my face. So anyway, it's such a great collection. And so I mean, I'm like,
Thanks.
how did nobody ever do this before? It's so brilliant.
Well,
Such a
I
good
was
book.
very happy that I was getting so many different responses, and some are funny.
Yeah.
Some are like you said, like some are about moving and some are about pets. And I think that was actually one of the most surprising things when I started collecting this. Because I was moving through a lot of grief personally, I read them all as they came in to kind of get an idea of, what was coming in. But I also got a lot of people emailing me saying, well, is this okay? Is this okay to write about? And it was their pet, or some other thing. And that it was surprising to me that people don't feel legitimate in expressing their grief. And I think I held one or two workshops during the time I was calling for submissions about writing, about hard times. And it's really been the biggest surprise that people are so not confident that they're experiencing this tremendous life experience. And it's not just, it can't be limited by 3 days of bereavement from work, or like,
Yeah.
it's not there are no limits, and I think people feel very limited by how they can express their own.
Excuse me. It seems crazy that there can be shame associated with grief because it feels like it's the one area that should be safe from shame, right? But it does play a role. And like you said, I think that's why people are worried if they're doing it right, or if they can be sad about this. Can I be sad about this? It's like, well, what do you mean, can you be? You are, can,
Right.
and so I just think giving people permission to talk about it is what you've done, that, that's so profound and helpful. Um, so I really commend you on this collection. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed it. It actually took me no time at all to read. And even though obviously we're getting very sad in this book, we're also, like you said, there it touches on the light part of loss and grieving as well. And and just also the parts that we all feel but can't articulate. And then I was thinking, as writers, there was one toward the end. Hold on here. Here we go. It's Sharon Shards. I'm not so sure
Oh, yes.
if I'm
Yeah,
saying her
Sharon
name
Chard.
correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I think for the writers who are listening, I think you will or agree or should think about how much writing helps with grief. I mean, it's really such an important way to get your thoughts down and your feelings and just ground yourself. And I think that's what you're so good at, Cindy. And so this is how Sharon wrote about it. I began to write about his death, my struggle to accept what was, and how it was affecting our family. Those early poems became the first portal into the relief I didn't know I needed or even wanted. I'm about to mispronounce a word. I just realized I was going to look this up. You're going to have to tell me how to say this. This is so embarrassing. Often I have described writing as a way to transform the inchoate,
I always have to look that word up. It's like inchoate.
inchoate.
I
Okay.
think. I think.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I wish we
Often, I know. Oops.
had
Okay.
fix it
Often
in
I have
post.
described, what's that?
Fix it in post.
Yeah, yeah. Often I have described writing as a way to transform the inchoate, the unruly mess of feelings in our guts and hearts, as a way to create a new being, a piece of art, something outside of ourselves. So I just really think that writing, I'm so glad you are a writer and finding ways to describe what you're going through and how you're affected by it, and removing all shame. And I think anyone who is not a writer but is grieving should consider journaling, or, finding a way to put the words onto paper, because it's just it feels, or in your computer, right? Like typing or writing. I just think it's
Anywhere. Yes.
surprisingly heart lifting. And I don't know the science behind it. I know there is some, but I just you know so what you're doing is really helpful in helping people, like guiding people to that path that is, you know giving some relief. Obviously, it can't change grief, but it can make it a little easier.
Well, I think it does. I mean, it can't take it away, but I think writing has always been for me um, a way to process and make meaning from my lived experience. Basically, this is my tagline. um, and I currently facilitate and have on different occasions, other occasions, a writing through grief writing workshop. And every single person in the group has experienced a different kind of loss. And it's amazing. None of them are the same. Some are fresh, some are recent, some are from 20, 30 years ago. But that's why I think it's really important to make the distinction between grief and like being sad. Because you can be sad that, your favorite restaurant closed. But I don't know that anybody, like, you're not grieving it. Grieving it like pulls up from deeper inside you, I think. Um, emotions and understandings about things that like your belief system is challenged with grief.
Hmm.
And I just think that being able to write it down, if it, well, I say everybody's a writer, so um but being able to write it down allows you to literally see what you're going through and then reflect upon it. And I can't even tell you how many times people say, this just came out of nowhere. I didn't know I was thinking this. I didn't know I was feeling this. It's just amazing that writing can definitely, because it comes up from your bones, it comes up from your muscles, it comes up from your heart. And I think that it's an important part of the process, the grief process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just nailed it. And I love that you're leading the workshop specifically for writing through grief. And um, where would people find the information on that? I mean, we can talk about how to find you at the end, but it will that just be on your website or on your Substack?
Yes, currently I'm
Okay.
just doing one. I'm still planning uh, to put some of the writing through grief workshops online. Currently, the one I'm doing is in person in Connecticut.
Okay.
So if anybody's in Connecticut, they can certainly. But yeah, the information's on my website, and I put it on Substack and all the
All the
places.
places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, I want to go over to this book that you wrote, um, True Confessions of an Ambivalent Caregiver, because I mean, this is a theme that you're writing about difficult things that people don't always give themselves permission to write about. And especially struggling through caregiving, which, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, there's so many emotions that go along with that. And so, what you did with this book is similar to what you did with grief is, you just open up your heart and talk about it honestly and openly and how hard it was and the good parts and the bad parts. And you have such a lovely writing style. So this is a memoir and essays, and I was wondering if you could share what got you to the point that you wanted to publish this.
So I started writing, I mean, because that's how I get through stuff. I started writing it. It wasn't necessarily going to be a book. Um, but so we brought my dad home to live with us. We remodeled our dining room. We stuck a shower where the front hall closet used to be. And because he was 86 years old and he had lost my mother, and he was medically, he had type 1 diabetes and a heart pacer. He was legally blind. He'd had dementia. I mean, there was just a lot. So we were just thinking, you know, get him through Christmas, And he did. He lived with us for about 4 years. And um so most of it was just writing, as I always did, getting through, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then I was asked to go to I forget why, because I hadn't been really writing about it, but I was asked to participate in a caregiver conference. And it was I was on a panel called Unpacking Caregiver Guilt. And there was a moderator and a woman who had just recently started taking care of her dad in her home, and me, I had been doing it for about a year and a half at that time. And she was newly into the responsibility, and she was she's lovely, but she was they took care of us, it's our turn to take care of them phase of it. And I was not. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I just, my, everything changed. Because my dad lived with us, my relationship with my husband changed. My relationship with my father changed. I became his caregiver, and he was not crazy about that. He was the guy. So so a lot of people were asking questions during this conference, and not many people asked questions about from me. But afterwards, after the panel was over, I had a handful of people come up and say, "Oh my God, this is so hard. I'm so glad you said that," and comments like that. So that's how deep the guilt is for
Yeah.
caregivers, is they couldn't even say anything in a conference, miles and miles away from their loved ones who probably couldn't hear them. They still couldn't say it out loud. They came
Mm-hmm.
up to me privately, and I thought, I should probably take a closer look at this and see what's going on with it. And that's why I grouped the essays in. I included some things I wrote about my dad before. It's a
Mm-hmm.
before, during, and after. And the bulk of it, of course, is the during. And um, because I wanted to portray the breadth of his life, not
Yeah.
just the 4 years that was so hard on both of us, all of us. So it was after that conference that I thought, maybe there's a book in here.
Oh, it's so good. I love that you're like, oh, I'm going to choose the part that people are like, tightly closed about and just open it up. Like that's the part that attracts you. Like, wait, this part needs some light. Let's
Yeah,
shed
yeah.
it.
Shine that light on there, nice
Yeah,
and
no,
bright.
it's so good. It's so important. There's so many people. I mean, in every family, this happens. And it's happening in our family right now. It's just so hard. And
Yeah.
there's no right way to do it. There's no wrong way. I mean, well, obviously there is a wrong way, but um it's just such a challenging part of life. Um and keeping your head in the right place and just knowing that there are others out there going through it. I mean, I just think that's what's so helpful about everything that you're writing about.
Thank you.
Um so I thank you again for the choices that you make.
No, no, and even though it was hard. It was hard. We lost my sister a year after
Yeah,
he moved in, and and she, my younger sister, she was the baby of the
yeah.
family, and so, within less than like a year and a half, my dad had lost his wife and his, youngest daughter, and it's brutal just to
Yeah.
have to carry on through all of that in this new dynamic. And um it changes so much about a family's dynamic. And like you said, it all looks different. It's just like grief. And actually there is grief in caregiving. There's anticipatory grief, because that it's not a case of they took care of us, we take care of them, because the outcome is so different.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's only one outcome when you take in an elderly, loved one or parent or something. And so it's really not the same, and it changes everything. But I want to say, before everybody thinks I'm terrible, um, we would make the decision again. We would totally do
Yeah,
it, because of the state of caregiving in this country. There
yeah,
just really aren't a lot of great options. And so we knew that we were going to be able to provide the best care, and we did, I think.
yeah, yeah. But there were so many aspects that you hadn't even considered when you took it on, and that doesn't change that your choice. But yeah, just the overwhelming burden of it
Yeah.
is significant. Yeah, and how and you can't make, I don't know. Yeah, it's just like sort of providing that consistency of like care and love, and then hoping that everything else that happens can be sort of ameliorated by that consistency, um, which is what you provided, and then what you were able to articulate. So it's like, you've just done, yeah, you're heroic. Seriously, Cindy.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. Oh my gosh. And yeah, anyway, I'm so impressed. So okay. We've already talked about how your writing informs and helps you process your grief. I want to know, I know you're working on something right now. Um, so can you talk about that?
Yes, I think.
Okay. If you want to change the subject, we can
No,
go.
no, 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 no.
Okay.
No, because again, talking about it makes it real. And so my next project is my daughter Annie, who died
Mhm.
last year from cancer, had begun writing herself.
Oh my gosh, she was an amazing writer. And yeah, the work that you guys wrote together and the newspaper columns, were amazing.
She was unbelievable. And so she had started writing her own memoir, and then of course could not finish it. So I thought I would help that come to be a reality. So I'm going to take her, um, I'm going to take the words that she wrote already. And then I've been going through a lot of old, I have this old journal that you could see, like it got in
My
the
gosh.
basement flooded, but it's like all her words. So she
Wow.
kept it, she didn't just toss it, she kept it. And I'm so glad she did, because the experience of reading her words back then, because I'd never read her diary, her journal when she was growing up. So this one in particular was from about the age 16 to 20. And it's been a bit of surreal for me, because I I'm reading about how she felt and what she thought. And I can't like text her and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe you did that." Or like, "You guys did
Yeah.
what behind my back?"
Yeah.
There was
You're fun.
one page I ripped out, and I thought, "Nope, this is not going to see the light of day anywhere, not even here." And I thought, I was, I talked to her all the time, and I said, I'm pretty sure you're okay with me taking this one out.
Yeah.
On the very next page, when I turned the page, it said she was writing about something else, and she wrote, "I miss my mom so much." So I thought, there it is. That's the thumbs up that I knew to get rid of this incriminating evidence. Um, it's
Yeah.
so funny. But anyway, so I'm gonna pull pieces from that. There was some writing she did while she was in college, and then afterwards, she's a very strong and funny writer. And I think I can, and the articles that I'm going to include, the articles that we wrote together.
Oh, good.
So I think I can pull this off. I think I can make something happen for her. Um, Although she wrote that if she thought if she ever wrote a memoir, she would call it Pocket Full of Rocks, but I've already taken that name.
Can't you use it for the book too?
I
Or
suppose I could, yeah, but
yeah.
I thought, but I love her signature was always a heart in her name. So the website address, which is not actually functioning right now, is called Love Annie. So I spend a lot, I use that like as a hashtag, and
Yeah.
because that's what that was. So I was thinking I might call it Love Annie, but I'm not sure.
Mm,
It's still in my computer. It's not in the
okay.
hands of any agents or publishers yet. It's available, FYI.
I mean, I think it's, it's really beautiful legacy that you're providing for her. And I'm sure she is thrilled, when you're talking to her, because I think that's what she would have done. And she was super talented in writing and just a really warm and wonderful soul. I've never met her, but just from what I've seen of you talking about her and with her, I was just so impressed with you as a mother and her. So I'm looking forward to reading that. And I do want you to talk about Pocket Full of Rocks too, and what you've done with it.
So that I took the name Pocket Full of Rocks, which which comes from anytime she would come back from the beach or a walk or a hike or something with her son, she'd always end up with a pocket full of rocks, because of or from not just her son, but any little kid you happen to be hanging around, and I'm sure everybody kind of connects with this. They bring you a little rock and hand it to you like it's the most precious thing in the world. And at that moment, it is.
Yeah.
So you end up with a pocket full of rocks. And what's really funny is that I found her husband and son moved about 6 months after she died. And as we were packing up their apartment, I found dozens of little cups and baggies, little
Of
boxes
rock.
of rocks. She kept all of them. So when we created a nonprofit for her, we called it Pocket Full of Rocks. And it's to promote, she was, she was a do-gooder. She liked helping people. She
Was she a
impacted.
social worker?
She went to school for social work. She went and then like switched to education and then back to social work. And then was not ever, professionally a social worker, but was always involved with that kind of work. She was always involved with nonprofit work and liaisons. And her last position was at a local uh, market that had a huge community outreach program. And she was doing that kind of work, donating turkeys to student groups and following up on a community garden in Bridgeport. And she was always doing that kind of work. So she left a legacy of kindness. And so that's our three goals. And she was also very interested in conservation and the climate. So, and she died of breast cancer. So our sort of three pillars of work will be focused on breast cancer advocacy, climate and conservation, and kindness. Just, finding ways to be kind to people. So
Mm,
that's our focus.
okay. Okay. I'm going to put a link to it for donations in the
Oh,
Substack too. So I think it's a wonderful um tribute, and she'll be so happy to know, whatever comes of it. I'm sure it will be wonderful.
we've
Um,
already we've already sent we've established a scholarship in her name at her high school, and it's endowed now. So we've been able to do that. So that will be a yearly scholarship given in her name. It's a citizenship award.
oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love
And
that.
we sent a kid, one or two kids to camp. That one of the organizations she worked with has a summer arts camp. And so we gave a scholarship for that camp. And we're in the midst of talking with the town conservation committee to create like a pollinator pathway meadow in a parcel of land in the town where she lived. So um we're
Oh,
we're
wow.
we're trying. We're getting there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm sure. Yeah, that's wonderful. Um, I want to make sure to share all of the information, all the ways to find you, because you are such a light, and I hope that people seek you out. So Cindy, what would you say are the best ways to find you?
I guess on my website, it's cindyeastman.com.
Okay.
I think I have links to all the other
Everything.
stuff. I don't know if there's a link now that I'm now that you're asking me. I don't know that there's a link to Pocket Full of Rocks. Um, but I guess
I'll put a separate link to that, and then
yeah.
I'll put a separate link to your Substack so people can follow you there.
Yeah, right now we have the Pocket Full of Rocks is just a Substack
Oh,
newsletter,
okay.
so you can subscribe. And I try not to like be annoying. I just like once a month, like
Okay.
just with updates. But there's some donation information on there. I started a website. I like built it. I put it together, and then it crashed and burned. And I thought, I don't know how to do this. What am I doing? So it's under construction. Is that the term? It's under construction.
Okay.
But there is a way to get information, and there's an Instagram account as well for the
Oh,
Pocket
for
Full.
Pocket Full of Rocks.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
then is it GoFundMe? Is that the way that you're taking donations on there, or
No,
is it
it's a donation directly to the nonprofit
okay.
through something. There's an online donation portal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love what you're doing. I love that you're creating those scholarships and pollinator pathways. Oh, I want a pollinator pathway. That's just such a good
I
idea.
know.
Every time I see a bee, I saw a bee this morning in my yard. I was like, oh, come over here, come to my cucumbers.
Right, right. Come this way.
So talking to the bees. Um, okay, well, thank you so much, Cindy. It's just been such a pleasure. I'm just so honored to know you and so glad that She Writes Press exists and brought us together because I always just find like-minded people when I'm with the She Writes group, and then finding you was just really wonderful. I feel lucky to know you.
Well, I think what you do for you are so great at uplifting other writers and providing opportunities like this. Like, thank you so much. This is so wonderful of you to do. But I think you're right about the She Writes Press, the sisterhood. It's a sisterhood.
Yes,
And
yes.
that was one of the things I didn't know needed when I first published a book. I thought, okay, I'm going to publish this book. This is going to be great. And then this sisterhood appeared. And
Yeah.
it's such a strong supportive network. And I'm so grateful too, because that's how we met. So I'm glad that we
Yeah, I
did.
know it's funny when people ask me about She Writes Press now. That's actually one of the parts that I rave about the most. I'm like, okay, everything about the process is really good, but but you also get this sisterhood that lasts. It's not like, oh, only until your book comes out will you have, access and the ability to communicate and meet these people. It's like, no, I feel like as long as I'm, you know, going to these conferences and participating in writing in the community, I will be able to connect and draw upon, these wonderful women. So yeah, it's been a huge boost to
I
my
know, it's incredible.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, it's lovely to talk to you.
You too. You
Rest of
too.
your summer. My heart is with you, and thank you for lifting it up and opening it up to everybody because it just makes such a difference. You make such a difference in this world.
That's the nicest thing anybody could say to me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.